subscribing, and leaving comments.
On tonight's edition of Northwest Reports.
Just remember that when you're in there, chin's down, the hands are up.
Standard advice for a boxer, but look who this coach is talking to.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you can go down to the gym and it's not a meat market. I mean, not everyone's wearing skin-tight clothes and have perfect little bodies. It's fun.
Ken Ackerman looks at the dukes of damsels.
It might be an endangered species. I think we ought to know about it to see if there's something if they're in danger and if something should be done about it.
This university professor isn't talking about salmon or spotted owls.
We have had 6 credible sightings since January the 1st this year.
And other people in the Northwest back up those claims.
He was a big monster, all right. Looked like a man, it looked like an animal.
The thing of myth and legend, Sasquatch, Bigfoot. Tonight on Northwest Reports. In this age of computer databases, space travel, and diminishing frontiers, many find it hard to believe that some things may exist without humans knowing about them. But some believe in the unknown and seek it out, no matter what the consequences. Tonight, we look at a Northwest legend that goes back farther than just about any other. Northwest Report's associate producer Sven Harhoff found out that even some people with academic credentials have become Bigfoot believers.
Legends of Bigfoot have been around the Northwest more than 100 years. The Indians who lived here before Lewis and Clark made carvings of creatures that some say represent the earliest sightings of Sasquatch.
And we had one very exciting sighting from this year.
It might walk over one of these open fields here.
Modern-day investigators want to find a Bigfoot for varied reasons.
I have not seen one, at least not to my knowledge. I've heard one, at least I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And once I smelled what was probably a Sasquatch.
Washington State University anthropology professor Grover Krantz has been recognized as an authority on evidence of Bigfoot. But he knows the academic world needs more than footprints and film.
They need proof, they need tangible evidence, a skull on the table. Short of that, it doesn't exist. And that's absolute.
Krantz tells Northwest Reports he sees a clear way to prove Bigfoot's existence.
Go out and shoot one.
I think that's wrong. I think it's very wrong. In fact, I think it's criminal, just about.
Peter Byrne, a big game hunter turned naturalist, looks for Bigfoot with little more than a camera. He says his research project is a benign operation.
I think it's very wrong to say shoot one to prove that it's there, and we're very much against that.
Byrne runs what he calls the Bigfoot Research Project out of a house in Parkdale, Oregon, on the road to Mount Hood.
We're fairly satisfied that the things are there, and basically what we're doing, in a nutshell, is gathering all of the information and putting it into a computer against a prepared database and looking for patterns. And then when we find these patterns, we will apply technical equipment in various forms.
The 5-year project got funding from a Massachusetts-based scientific group.
The present project is a year old. We started in August of last year. Yeah, I've been in and out since 1960, which is 33 years, not on a full-time basis. I did 10 years in the 70s, from 1970 to 1979. and that was full time. But since then, I've been in and out of it, giving it what time I can in the search.
In the 50s, Byrne joined organized searches for Yeti, or the abominable snowman, in Asia's Himalaya mountains. The sponsors of those expeditions asked Byrne if he would help find a similar creature in the United States.
I have to admit I laughed at the time. I thought it was very amusing that something like this, like an abominable snowman, could exist in the United States. So I came over in 1960 and spent a year and got bitten by the bug, if you like.
Byrne searched without success. After a year, he left the country, but returned shortly thereafter to make Oregon the headquarters for his Bigfoot search.
Well, tell me about this bug. What is it that that fuels the fire that leads to all these projects?
I think it's the challenge in this particular respect of the unknown, and the possibility that if these things are truly there, that we're looking at something that's, shall we say, almost still living in the primordial world. We think these things are human in form, a hominid form. We don't think they're animals.
Fact of the matter is, this is not an animal that's somewhere between ape and human. It is flat out ape. An older man with his dog were out here, and they encountered one.
Krantz developed his Bigfoot interest during his teenage years.
When I became a professional anthropologist, I realized that if this thing is real, it's very important in my field. Even if it isn't real, it's indirectly important because it's a piece of folklore that's really weird. So I felt that I couldn't honestly just ignore it. I had to find out for sure, one way or the other. So I looked into it, and to my satisfaction, I did find out for sure.
Krantz says the most compelling evidence supporting the existence of Bigfoot are footprints. Hundreds of footprints found all over the region. Many of them are faked, but not all, says Krantz.
So if even one of those wasn't faked?
Yeah. You don't need half, you don't need 1%, you just need one.
Meaning?
One real one. And then you know that the species is real.
And what's the likelihood of at least one of these being real?
Guaranteed.
So Krantz is convinced. He even suggests Sasquatches may be an endangered species and that they may need our help. But you can't help what you can't find. Bigfoot believers have yet to convince the scientific community or the public, and they know that the only way to stop the ridicule they face is to produce indisputable evidence.
And I've stuck my neck out very flatly on this, that the only way you're going to prove it exists is to bring in a body or a piece of a body. You don't have to ask me, ask any scientist, any skeptic, and they'll tell you the same thing. They need proof, they need tangible evidence.
Krantz says the most likely way to find a dead Sasquatch is to kill one.
If somebody goes out and shoots one, brings in the body or a substantial part of it, then the party's over, it's done, it's proven, and the scientific world will have to acknowledge it.
Would you like to capture one?
No, we're against the idea of capture.
So you'd like to track? I mean, you'd like to find or...
We'd like to find one, confront one if you like, and see if it's possible to communicate.
So you'd like to give Peter Byrne a gun instead of a camera?
Yes. Peter Byrne and his camera is never going to prove them. He may make himself a nice name if he gets some good film of it, but he's never going to prove it to the skeptics. The skeptics will look at everything he gets, the best he can possibly get, and they will say, fake. They've said that to Patterson's film, they'll say it to Peter Byrne. There's no way you can prove it with anything but a body.
On October 20th, 1967, Yakima, Washington resident Roger Patterson and his buddy Robert Gimlin reportedly encountered a Sasquatch while hunting for Sasquatch evidence.
Second only to the footprints, I would class the Patterson film as the most powerful evidence.
The two men were on horseback in Northern California when they discovered this creature crouching beside a creek. Their presence alarmed the creature, which allegedly stood up and walked away. The sighting spooked Patterson's horse, which reared and fell over backward on top of him. About 20 seconds lapsed before Patterson grabbed his 16mm camera and started filming. Patterson kept rolling until he ran out of film. According to Krantz, the encounter was over in less than 2 minutes, and Patterson shot 952 color frames of what many say is a real Sasquatch. Krantz analyzed the film frame by frame. He reports no evidence of fakery, though he says he believes Patterson may have faked the film if he had the opportunity to do so. Krantz says no one has ever bothered to disprove the film.
Analyzing the creature in the film as to the idea that, well, it's just a big man in a fur suit. There is no man that can be fitted into a suit that gives those body proportions. The only way you could put a man in a suit is get a man 6.5 feet tall, walk in a slouch, but break his arm right about in the middle of the upper arm so that you give him a fake shoulder there. And I don't think anyone would have done that.
Though no one has captured a decent image of a Bigfoot on film or tape since Patterson, reports of sightings and fresh footprints continue to reach Bigfoot-seeking organizations. Many of the sightings occur at night, something on the side of a road caught briefly in the headlights of a passing car. Fewer sightings take place in the dense northwest forests.
It's about 56, I guess. I was working up Leoka Canyon logging.
Furman Osborne says he saw a huge hairy creature up close and personal one sunny morning.
Osborne was working as a logger in Oregon's Hood River National Forest. He and his colleagues were taking a break in the shade one day when a Bigfoot-like creature allegedly appeared.
Here come this big thing out of the brush, took up through there. It looked to be about 7 feet tall, and big, tall, long, hairy legs, and it stood upright, but it had a real big, broad shoulders drooped over. It's not a monster. It looked sort of like a man, it looked like a beast. And it was a big thing. I'd say it's 6, 7 feet tall. And it weighed several hundred pounds.
Osborne followed the creature to get a better look. He says it quickly headed toward thick scrub.
He didn't run, he just walked real fast, like big long strides.
Osborne says he threw some rocks at it in hopes of getting it to turn and show its face. It did not, and that was the last time Osborne ever saw such a creature.
So you do believe that there are creatures out there?
Yeah, well, I know there are creatures of some kind because I saw it and I was close to it, but what it was, I'll never know probably.
Perhaps none of us will ever know for sure if Sasquatch-like creatures exist. For some, it might be the search for the unknown that makes the Bigfoot mystery so intriguing. But not so for Krantz. He wants the hunt to end, and end fast.
My reputation in straight science has suffered very badly for this, and I would feel very vindicated if the search is ended successfully.
As for Peter Byrne, he still has 4 years of funding for his search. He can't say what he'll do after that, though he gives no indication he'll give up the search.
So you never tire? I mean, you don't get up in the morning someday and say, this is the last thing that I want to do is...
No, I get up in the morning and say, this is the day I may find Bigfoot.
Sven tells me that at least a couple of Bigfoot sightings have happened in the last couple of months. 2 loggers saw a Sasquatch in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest on September 13th. His exact location has been held back to stop anyone who wants to go out and shoot one. 4 hikers made a second sighting early last month near Sacramento. We'll certainly keep you up to date on Bigfoot sightings we hear about. Northwest Reports continues in just a moment. Now for a look at your letters to Northwest Reports. About our story 2 weeks ago on Bigfoot, Larry Lund of Vancouver writes, "As a Bigfoot investigator, I have been mostly disappointed by the way all branches of the media handle the subject. If they are not looking down their collective noses at the believers, they present the subject in a tongue-in-cheek manner and give the public the impression that we all border on lunacy. Your show handled the subject with fairness and did nothing to offend the intelligence of the people who believe in the possibility of its existence."
If you're enjoying all this rare and unique content, please show your support by subscribing and leaving comments.